Good morning and welcome back. We are painting our truck. So stage one, the chassis has been completed. Now it's time to move on to the cab and then the box. Gonna need a lot more product for this, probably more sanding, but a lot less cleaning, so it shouldn't be as bad, but it still is a lot to do.
This is the big transformation. This is where we add the color. The chassis was exciting to see that happen, but it is just black Raptor liner. It looks a lot cleaner and nicer, but I've been excited about the color the whole time.
Still a ton of work to be done, so we better get right into it.
The transformation continues. We'll let you in on a little secret. We were not planning on painting the composite box. We were originally planning on leaving it white and just painting the cab, but we recently decided that we want to paint the whole truck, the cab and box, all in the same color. So when we did our initial teardown of the Unimog, took all the lights off and everything, we didn't remove anything from the back of the camper. There's traction boards and jerry cans, our AC units mounted back there. None of that got removed because we weren't planning on having to remove it. But now we're gonna have to go back there, take all that stuff off. So there is a little bit more teardown to do before we can start painting the actual body of the truck. Well, this is the very last time the Unimog will look like this. The sanding is starting, and as soon as that happens, there's no going back. You cannot reverse scuffing up the paint or taking the sheen off of the box. Our decision is made, it's pretty much permanent as soon as this happens. We've gone back and forth on painting the box this entire time, but we've made our decision. We're gonna paint it. This is all a little nerve-wracking, honestly, to change it. I know after it's done, we'll look back and ask ourselves why we ever considered not painting it, because hopefully it'll look so nice, fully painted, but it's a little nerve-wracking to take those first steps. So take a good look at her. She'll be completely different after this. You've done good, Moose. Now you deserve the full makeover, the works. We were able to borrow this palm sander from my grandpa because we only have one sander, this little orbital sander, and there's two of us, so we might as well be sanding at the same time to hopefully get it done faster. The first thing that we're gonna do before we start sanding is to put plastic underneath the cab and the box to cover the frame, because we just painted all of that. It looks so nice, it's not dirty, and the last thing we wanna do is just start sanding the cab and have all of that dust stick to the frame. So we're gonna protect it a little bit. We talked about whether we should do the frame or the body of the truck first, and we decided on the frame because we thought it would be the worst job.
Yeah, at least we think it was, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it was pretty bad. Having to get in there and clean the whole chassis, it was a ton of work. It was super tedious. And this sounds a lot easier than that, I think.
It was terrible, so hopefully it's not worse.
So it's not too bad to just have to throw some plastic underneath, but I don't want to be washing paint dust off of that brand new paint.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be washing again anyways, but
It's gonna need a full wipe down once it's done anyway. Yeah. Here you go.
Put this on the bumper.
Yeah, cover up all the black part.
That's tricky.
All right, so we just have to go around and do that. Basically, we're putting a skirt on it.
Looks like it's probably gonna rain. Hopefully it doesn't, because this will be kind of a mess, but I think it's going to.
Yeah, it does kind of look like it's gonna rain.
It's not the biggest deal, it's just gonna be a sloppy mess with this plastic out here. It'll be fine.
Hopefully we don't get this all on there and then it just immediately starts raining.
Yeah.
It got significantly darker in the last 10 minutes. Do what you can with it.
I need more allowance, Charlie-hoo. I'll hold it here. You're gonna have to tape it. It's not gonna stay in place. It's already raining, so. Oh yeah, here it comes, it's getting harder. All right, guess we're done for today. I got literally like 2 strokes. We can't really sand in the rain. And I think it's going to rain the rest of the day. On and off at least. That's what the forecast looks like. Fun.
Good morning. We are back. It's the next day. We just started sanding. Like, we got a tiny part of the door panel sanded and it started raining, and it didn't stop raining pretty much all night.
Yeah, a few hours ago. Definitely rained overnight. Got a big wet mess out here, but it's dry now. Well, the cab is finally drying, and it shouldn't rain the rest of the day. It might again overnight, but we should be fine on that. The other big hurdle is going to be tilting that cab and figuring out how to get behind that to sand it. So we're kind of going through the book to figure that out right now. I don't think we have the hydraulic cylinder that normally you would use, but we're going to solve that problem.
Yeah, I'll show you what Drew's talking about over here. So, because we are painting with the camper on the truck, you can see this little gap in here. How are we going to paint in there? The Unimog cab actually tilts. It will go up like this and over the front bumper. That will allow us to get onto the back of the cab here and sand, and get onto the front of the camper and sand that part, prime, and paint. But we're not sure that we have all the tools and mechanisms in place to do it the way that the manual says to do it. So I think we're just going to start off by tackling what we can, and that's sanding the whole truck first, and then we can move on and see what can be done about tilting the cab. That'll be the next big hurdle here. Okay, here comes the sanding, and sanding, and sanding, and sanding. So I was just sanding the cab, and underneath the paint you could see that there was a bubble right here. I wasn't sure if it was maybe a pocket of rust from the other side or what was underneath there. So I definitely had to sand it enough to find out, because it was very, very raised. And I encountered some body filler. That's what this tan stuff is here. Probably some really, really old body filler. You can see it right here. But once I started sanding it enough for it to be flush, I saw the hole. So now there's a huge hole in the cab right here. It doesn't actually look too rusty. It looks like maybe in the past it was rusty and they kind of did a repair on it. But anything that'll just flake off, I'm gonna take that off. Then maybe this will be another job for the steel stick. Fill that in so I can sand it, and maybe a little bit more body filler over top of it to make it nice and smooth. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. There's a hole in the side of the cab. I knew there was something under there. I was hoping it wasn't a hole, but this is what we're working with.
The roof is pretty brutal because you can't use the sander on it. It's got all these little grooves on it and curves, so The old hand and paper trick. This might take a while.
Yeah. So gross. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ew. The cab, the part of the box above the cab, and then 2 sides of the camper are done. That's a lot. My hands are like vibrating, even though I'm not holding the sander anymore. It's a lot more hand sanding than I thought too, just like really tiny little spots that you have to sand by hand. We're almost there. Way over halfway. It's mostly done.
Starting to really match its neighbors here with these old rusty trailers. Yeah, it looks like it's been abandoned, but it'll look a lot better pretty soon. The box particularly looks awful now. It went from shiny to just terrible looking. Hopefully it'll look really good when we're done. There's really no turning back now because I've ruined the clear coat on 2/3 of the box, so
this is by far the saddest part of the entire process. Taking this ambulance symbol off the hood is heartbreaking. And having to scrape it off here, it's taking a little bit of time and it's making me really sad. The Mog isn't a restored classic military truck like you would take to a car show and you try to get all the original pieces for the truck. If it were that, we would keep the logo, but we're trying to make it into an expedition truck. We're trying to travel outside the United States with it, and we just don't want to run into any problems. So, unnecessary evil in this process. But onward to new horizons without the cross. How do you feel about the ambulance sticker being gone?
Oh, I am heartbroken. I think we should make a new one. Black and white one would be cool. So stay tuned. Savannah says no, but I'm pushing pretty hard for it. I'm upset it's gone. I'm sad. You really hurt me with this one.
Distraught. We'll never recover.
Military truck, right? Regular flavored flame. It's honestly just plastic. Another one of the really cool features with the Unimog that make it pretty easy to work on in the grand scheme of things, you can tilt this cab forward. It's made to do this. Usually it comes with a telescopic bar here that would hook up to like a pump that is, I think, connected to the air, and you would pump it and it would lift it up. Our truck did not have that. We're missing that part. So we lifted it with the fork today. Kevin made this just to hold it in place. We've also blocked it to be extra safe. And we have tethered just so it can't go over the top. But for today, we just got it up. We're gonna get in here. We need to sand, clean up, prime, paint, and then we'll put it back down. Ideally, you would paint this stuff while it's all pulled apart. So if you're doing this professionally, you'd probably actually pull the whole cab off, or you would paint that before you put the camper box on. We got the things put together already, so we're dealing with it the way we have to deal with it, but it'll come out fine. Just a little more of a headache. Got my brother here helping out a little bit today, so if you see an extra guy in the background footage, it's not a ghost, it's just my brother.
The ghost that looks a little like Drew.
Hey guys.
You might recognize Ruben from our Unicell build. If you were around on the channel for that, he did help out installing the back doors and a few other projects, I think. So if you're a longtime viewer, you may recognize this guy.
He's been in the footage before.
Yes. We should have tilted the cab when we were painting the chassis. I mean, look at the access that you get to underneath all of this. But we didn't even really think about it until we started considering painting in this gap. And then we went to the manual and read how to tilt the cab. Super easy, especially if you have the parts that you actually need, which we didn't, but we were able to make them. Tilting this would have made the chassis so much easier. but I guess lessons learned. Next time we have to do anything to the truck underneath here, tilting the cab is so worth it. This truck is so easy to work on. They made everything so accessible.
Oh, it's fast.